everybody. It's Debbie Callan again with Closing Connections with Debbie Callan. And I have my dear friend here with me, Carlos Noa from Gold Street Realty.
Yes.
Thanks so much for coming
Yes, thank
in.
you for having me.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I actually saw you
Yes.
because you used to be across the street
I
and
did.
you have moved to a different brokerage.
I did.
And when did you do that?
I did that right after my knee surgery, actually.
And when was that?
That was in August, and then I moved officially in September.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
had the surgery.
I did.
What did you do? Have a ACL or?
ACL and both meniscus.
Oh boy, my son
Yeah.
had that.
Yeah,
So.
and it's a great story per se.
Yeah,
but
tell me about it.
Okay, so I actually ended up surprising my wife now to a trip to Italy.
Oh man.
Okay, and that's where I proposed.
Oh.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Right. So she had no idea. I had did the whole itinerary, everything. And when we came back, right, she's engaged, she's happy, you know, the whole ring and looking at it. And then I'm playing tennis with my brother.
Right.
We were big tennis players. And then one of those, I'm running, did a backhand hit, and I landed with my knee locked in place. Man. So it got dislocated, but I didn't tear it that time.
Okay.
So after that, you know, a few months later, yeah, then it was just going around the house. So I do a lot of DIY stuff. You probably see that on my. And then just fixing tile. Yeah. Something fell. I went to go pick it up. Boom, a crack.
On the other knee?
No, on the same knee.
Oh, same knee. Okay.
Same knee. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. Then I went down to Miami. I was supposed to fly to California, right?
Right.
To visit family and then walking the dog. That was the last strand. I took a misstep on the lawn. Yep. And then that's when I tore it and then I couldn't get up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my son did it playing football.
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. So he was nice enough to bring a little bit of spirits for our video today. But so, you know, one of the reasons why I do this is I really like to have the opportunity to, you know, highlight some of the agents in our community. Yeah. Let them know who you are, not just, you know, that you sell real estate, but also
that's the boring stuff.
Right. I mean, I'm a firm believer that when people know you and trust you, they use you. So the business side is one end of it, and then the rest of it is all about relationships.
Right? 100%. 100%.
So I know you've been doing this for a while. So how many years have you actually been?
So I hit my first year in August.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you did so well your first year.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Thank you.
So that was just last year?
Just last year. Just hit the first year, yeah.
So what did you do before?
Emergency medical services. So I was an EMT.
For the fire department?
No, so this was a private ambulance down in Miami.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My daughter's husband did that, you know, transporting stuff.
Yeah.
So is that what you did all along until you got into real estate?
Pretty much. So it was all in Miami. I would do that, and then I was trying to get into the fire service. Right. That's all we. Right. That's the reason why we do it.
Yeah.
But it was so competitive. I wish I knew about Ocala, because when I went to do my application for Miami-Dade, I was competing against 25,000 applicants.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh my gosh.
Just to tell you how the process was, it was 3 years. So it was drug testing, psychs, all this, all that, physicals. And then on the third year, they're like, congrats, you made it to the next list. So we're going to start all over from scratch. Reapply, do it. I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
But I applied all over the state of Florida.
Yep.
And I thought I was going to get in Tampa. Sat down, it was 9 people interviewing me. That was intimidating.
I wonder if, was it, well, it had to be the, one of my girlfriends, her son is a lieutenant in the Tampa side. I have a lot of firefighter friends.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. And I thought I was going to get that one. But the question
they need people because it's high activity there.
But the question that came back to them was like, well, I mean, you live in Miami, you have family in Miami, and I was like, yeah, but I'm like ready to move. Miami's getting too expensive. And they were so keen because they've had people like quit on them. So we ended up just not connecting in that sense of an employment. And then I was working with autistic kids, teaching them martial arts.
Oh.
Yeah, so completely different.
You do that too?
I did
martial arts.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean Cheers. So at that point, Miami was way too expensive.
Right.
So my girlfriend at the time, she ended up moving to Jacksonville.
Okay.
right? And then I was all right. Let me finish all my my private lessons, get these kids. So my goal was to get them to where either they were unable to speak or their anger just took over for them, to control, zen, and use their words. So my goal was to get them to that point and then put them into group classes so they can essentially be high functioning in society. So I still like talk to a lot of the parents and all that. So once I moved there, then I was employed for a little bit. And that's when I trained our dog. So that dog is amazing. And then we, yes, but he's a little extra.
Okay.
And then from there, my wife ended up getting a promotion to manage a pain management clinic down in the Villages.
Oh.
So then she pretty much, you know,
said, I'm moving.
Yeah, I'm moving, and you need to hire him. That's the contingency to get me down. And they're like, well, I normally don't do, you know, how serious are you guys? We're like, well, we're serious. Like 3 years already in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, fine. So they hired me, and then we started managing that.
Oh my gosh, that's how you got to here.
That's how I got to here. So, and then we were looking in like the Leesburg area because it was close to that.
Right.
But I was like, I don't want to live in Leesburg. There's not much to do. And then there was one rental that kept on coming up, but we thought it was like one of those like only for certain months because it's furnished.
Yeah.
And then that's how I ended up meeting Great Expectations. So they were the property manager for that. So we reached out, met Lindsay. Lindsay was great, and then that was it.
So what got you to where you said, you know what, I think I want to be a real estate agent now?
So it was actually my home buying process with Elias.
Okay.
So Elias was my agent.
Okay.
I connected with her. So
who wouldn't?
Yeah, and it was so easy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy people so much.
Yep.
And then my wife gets on my case, like she'll tap me. She's like, "You're talking too much." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm enjoying the conversation."
Yep.
So it was just, you know, it was a little bit stressful because we were asked to like vacate the premises. So they're like, "Hey, like, you know, a relative has brain cancer," and it was like, "Okay, I'm sorry to hear that." My wife just had 2 arm surgeries. So tomato, and COVID is a thing now.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I was like, I'll work with you. You know, if you guys work with me, they're like, yeah, perfect, no worries. So there was, you know, a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And from there, met her. She started showing us houses. I don't know if you remember, but my name was on your file. You were my lender.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes. So. And then we spoke a little bit. And then, I don't know if Eli's ever told you, but I surprised her with the house.
No.
Okay. So, story's great, by the way.
Yeah.
So the entire time, you know, she's thinking like, okay, let's look at houses, you know, the whole process.
Yeah.
And I'm going through it, and I was, all right, I like this house, you know, very small criteria. Mainly it was more for the dogs. We have the space. Yeah. And there was one house I really liked. We spent like over an hour outside. Went inside. As soon as I walked in, vault ceilings, I'm like, I want it.
Yeah, you knew it.
And then she's like, you haven't even seen the house. I'm like, I know, but what's carpet? I can change. I can do that. I can change everything.
Yeah.
When I did the math, so I'm really good at math, but I don't know if I was too excited. I did the same price for 30 years. I was like, oh, this is expensive. And, you know, I was like, all right, it's okay. And then we ended up not winning that bid. And we won another one. So Elias was like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, but, you know, you guys get your second best. I was like, I mean, there was one and that's it. The ones I didn't like. And so I was, all right, let's put it. And the day that I was going to drop the escrow, grace of God, right? The other house fell through by finance in 2 days, which is unheard of, right? So I didn't know how the process really worked. And Elias calls me. I'm at the clinic. And she goes, hey, so good news, bad news. I'm like, I mean, okay.
What?
Yeah, like, what is it? She goes, well, good news is that you got the house, right? Bad news is the house that you really want fell through, and then now you're the backup offer. Oh, so what do you want to do? I'm like, I mean, there's no question.
Yeah.
I want the house that I want.
Right.
So when I dropped off the escrow the same day, you know, we said that we couldn't, and that was it. So I went under contract. My girlfriend didn't know. She was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, we just can't find houses. So then what I did was on the Zillow link, I put like 5-bedroom house, 3 bathrooms for like $100,000. and nothing would pop. She's like, there's nothing. I'm like, I know, honey, I'm so sorry. And then Elias was like, we would like call each other and be like, this is the story we're going with. And we went along with it. And the entire time she thought we weren't going to be homeless. So I know it's a little bit mean.
When did you tell her?
3 days before closing.
What?
I know.
Oh my God.
I know. And then everyone, so our parents, her parents were like, what is this agent doing? Like, you need to fire her, you get a new one. And then once she started feeling the pressure, she's like, look, she's going to fire me. And I was like, what's my contract? And then she's like, okay, we're going to tell her. So we set it up. And then her husband, he filmed. And then I took her out to dinner, right? So I'll send you the video. I blindfolded her. I walked her in. And then she steps into the carpet. And she's like, oh, this is fancy. And I was like, what fancy restaurant have you been to as carpet? And then she took it off, and I had gotten a sign that said, our first home together. And yeah.
Was she excited? I mean,
she was.
Mad that you didn't
no.
help pick it out?
No, I mean, she knew the house.
She did?
Yeah, she had seen it. She fell in love with it, too.
Okay.
Yes.
So I missed that part. Okay.
Yeah, she just didn't know that we were under contract.
So oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a great story.
And then we closed and everything, and then we've been,
And now you've done a lot of improvements to it?
Yeah. I mean, I've done all 1,800 square feet, and we just finished the garage, and I'm going to do the lanai outside.
So how long have you guys actually been married?
So legally, right, we got married in 2020.
Okay.
Because of COVID. So now we're going to be hit 3 years in December.
Okay. So no children yet.
No.
But let's talk about your Aussie.
Yes.
So you trained him a certain way, like for guard dog, or?
No, not for guard dog. It was mainly because, with all the surgeries that she ended up having, we're like, this dog is really smart. So my main thing when I first got him, I was like, I need an obedient dog. Right? Like, hey, go home. And then we started teaching him, like, no humping. I don't like dogs that hump or that dogs that jump. So I was like, we're not doing that. So
you come train mine?
Yeah, sure. Sure. So then once, my wife ended up having the surgeries, that's when we geared him more to a service dog.
Oh.
So he knows how to pick everything. So we'll be hanging out. Let's say your cup falls. He'll pick it up, wag his tail like, yeah, I did it. So it went from, basic things to helping the wife to doing laundry, opening doors. He can grab me a beer.
Oh my God.
We've taught him to like decipher each tool. So I'll be like doing something. I'm like, hey, honey, like pass me the screwdriver. Sends the dog. He'll pick it up, run back, gives it to me. Yes.
Oh my God. Have you ever had one of these kind of dogs before?
No, this is my first dog.
First dog. And how did you know to train him this way?
YouTube.
Really?
YouTube.
Well, I have 2 dogs and they're labs. One's a Labradoodle. And
we almost had a Labradoodle.
And the other is a chocolate lab. And they are both juvenile delinquents. They could not, now, they don't do anything that you just mentioned at all. They do all the things that you told your dog not to do.
Yeah.
They jump, they hump, they do all the bad things. And
it's not them.
No, it's me. I know who it is. I know whose fault it is.
But the thing is, it's not you either, because for like the sense of humping, right?
Yeah.
So there's 2 reasons.
Dominance, right?
Yes and no. Okay. So when the dominance comes into play is, usually when they're trying to mate, right? But the humping, when it starts off, I found out that it's because they're so excited, their body just naturally does that.
Oh, okay.
So when that would happen, you're just supposed to stop, tell them no, or leave the room. So that's when they're like, oh, they don't like that.
They want to be with you.
Yeah. So he's been in with a bunch of dogs. Dogs try to hump him, and he just like barks and goes, nope. But he won't mount them to like show like, hey, I'm the top dog.
Okay, well that's interesting because my chocolate lab, who's the male dog, and they're all spayed and fixed and all that, but he just he has a problem. He has a total problem. So I'm going to send him to your house and let you train.
There we go. One thing I have learned, because we rescued a beagle from my mom, right? If you have an obedient dog, teach one that's, in our case, rescued. So much easier.
You are so right, because I used to have a black chow, and she was smart as all get out. And she trained my first yellow lab, and that dog did not do anything unless the female chow said to do it. Well, unfortunately, I got these 2 at the same time because both the other ones had passed away.
Yeah.
I didn't want one. And so all they've done is taught each other the bad things.
Of
I mean,
course.
that's all they do.
I mean,
And my daughter goes, I cannot believe you would never let us do this kind of stuff. And you just, she goes, I go, they're not that bad. She goes, oh
yeah.
my God, mother, they're terrible.
You'd be like, because I waited for you guys to leave the
Yeah,
house to have fun.
I know. It's like I didn't care about dogs when I had little kids because I was always focused on the kids.
Of course.
Now that they're gone, I mean, these are my babies, and
Yeah.
they are spoiled rotten. And I tell my daughter, just like you're spoiled too. So I did notice that you have your own podcast too, which is
Get to Noa. Yes.
Which obviously, if I wasn't clear in the beginning, it is Carlos Noa.
Yes.
So what a great podcast name.
Thank you.
Very catchy. I was very jealous that I didn't have a name I could do that with too. So what is your podcast? What are you aiming to do with that?
So my thing is just to kind of like share like my home buying experience for people that have never done it.
I love it. Yeah.
You know, and then like educating them of like I didn't know about USDA.
Right.
That was foreign. I mean, coming from the big city,
you didn't have that.
It's either cash, conventional, and FHA.
Yep.
Right. And there was so many, and then now being in the business, it's like, oh well, there's like you can do renovation loans.
Yeah.
There's so many loans, we can help you out this way. So that's my gear. And then it's, obviously, a little bit of real estate, but it's more of like the beauty of Ocala, why somebody in their 30s would want to leave the big city and come down to, I mean, it's not that small of a town.
Not anymore.
No, I mean, we've seen 484 grow.
Yep.
But it's still, when you look at it in the sense of to Miami, like if in Miami right now it's 1:00 in the morning and we want to go out for drinks, there's something open. Here you're like, oh, it's 9:01, it's closed.
Yeah. Well, there was I think we used to have a nickname for this place. Was it Slow Cala?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, but yeah, because I've been here since 2010. So when I got here, I mean, it was still a very quaint little town, but now, I mean, I've said this before on my other videos. The last couple of years, I think 80 to 90% of anybody that I've done a pre-approval for or closed with has been an out-of-stater.
Yes.
So now it's, I mean, the traffic is crazy.
Oh, I know.
And I mean, you can tell. I don't care what time of year it is anymore. You're going to have traffic, and so the resemblance of what it used to be is fading, but I still think that it still has so much to offer as far as people.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It's funny. I was going to tell you that when you were telling me your story about the firefighting in Miami, I just did a pre-approval for a guy that just retired 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and I think I want to say he's like 51, maybe. Okay. And he's got a gigantic pension. I mean, that is so nice, but I don't see those pension numbers in other counties like I do coming out of South Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, though, if you were retired from there, your pension
was nice. Good. Yeah, but you know that they got away from the pensions when I was doing like paramedic school. They're like, hey, so we're gonna do like a modified 401k.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they're not doing the full pensions anymore?
No, I mean, if you've been in there for 10 plus years before that new law came in. Yeah. Okay. So it's big departments aren't there yet, but I noticed a lot smaller ones were changing.
I think they should do that. I mean, that's especially if it's county or the state, because I mean, anything to do with first responders goes to my heart. So
yeah.
But so I meant to mention that to you because when you were talking about that, I was like, I just saw him. I mean, he's retired young and he can get a second job somewhere if he wants to. He's still young enough to work and get a nice big fat pension.
Yeah.
Unlike me.
I'm right there with you.
I know. I mean, we're going to work hard for our money.
Yeah.
So your hobbies are bicycling, and do you go on the bike trails? What do you do?
Both. Okay. So we do the bike trails on 49th.
Okay.
Right, the paved ones and the ones off road.
Oh, okay. Now, did you know that there's a big bike trail over in Denellen?
Yes, we've been there
too.
Have
you done that
yes.
one? So my husband, because we used to live in Denellen too. So, but there's a bike shop right there on 484 as you're going into town from here. And they had like 5 guys and about 4 girls that would literally do biking. They would do weekend trips and stuff like that. But I'm talking like they would get on that trail and bike to St. Pete or Tampa, excuse me, and then back the same day. So I mean,
they're fast then.
I mean, is that amazing?
That is.
People, you do it like you don't do it that to that degree.
20 miles is much.
That's a lot though.
My wife does 40.
Does she?
Yeah,
really?
like she'll go. She's like, "Oh, you're doing real estate stuff. Okay, bye."
So she's still into. That's something that you guys can do together.
Yeah, that's what we do together. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then tell me about your DIY.
Yeah, DIY.
DIY.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, I always liked tinkering with things, and when things would break, coming from like an immigrant family, my mom not knowing the language,
right?
It was like.
Where is she from?
From Honduras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then my dad was from Cuba.
Okay.
And
I was born to get my bag.
Oh, okay.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. And everything like had its value and its need for it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. So I always tried helping it. Yeah, and sadly, like just general Hispanic, the dad wasn't around the picture too much. So I was just, we have to fix it. We have to fix it, And then that just kind of kept on going. Then the only real father figure that I really had was my grandfather, and he was a mechanic. And you've seen all those memes where it's like you're holding the flashlight. That's as good as you get.
Yep.
They are so true.
It is so funny.
It is so funny because it's true.
Allie, did you see Allie's post the other day? Yesterday she was holding the flashlight for her dad. And
oh,
scared because she's afraid to move.
Yes. But I learned so much. Like it got to a point where my Mustang, my first car that I bought, the engine blew, and we were able to rebuild it.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so that was quite the experience. So I owe a lot of, that knowledge to him. Mm-hmm. And then when we got the house, I was like, "Wow, we want to do this." We went on Pinterest, everything that everybody does. Yeah. And then the first thing we did was paint. Easiest thing, right? You don't need to go on YouTube or anything. It's just paint. But I used to be a painter as well. A part-time painter. Okay. So I knew how to cut. I was like, here, babe, this is how you roll. I'll cut. I'll do all the hard stuff. Done. So he painted everything. And then
unlike me, when my husband asked me to paint, and then about 10 minutes later he tells me to get the heck out of the room. That's not my
now is that strategy though? Because you be like, I don't want to paint. Like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, I make a mess, and he's just there's a lot of strategy in that.
There you go. See,
things like I don't want to put gas in my car. I don't know how. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that. My thing is, I wouldn't want my wife pumping gas late at night. Yeah. So I always make sure the gas is pumped. That's nice. Yeah. And then how I learned how to do flooring, I was putting a shiplap around the bar. Mm-hmm. Never did it, right? But I had a neighbor kind of teach me. And then my air compressor just blew. So all this like rust water landed on the carpet, and the carpet was like beige. And then she's just like, "Oh shucks, you have to change it out." I was like, "Of course I do."
Of course.
Right? But my train, right? Like, so my thought was, I'm gonna start learning how to do flooring in the small room, right? I'll do the closets, like 70 square feet, do that. And then now I have this issue where it's like 1,000 square feet of living room, right? To the kitchen, dining room, all that. So I was like, okay. So cut it open, looked at a few videos for about a week. I'm like, okay. Went to Lowe's, bought it, and I just started clicking floors.
Oh my gosh. So geez. Well, there's a lot to be said about doing stuff yourself and how much money you can save doing it.
Yes.
And just the knowledge. I mean, just being, and I don't know if it's relaxing to you or not, but my son does a lot of this.
Yeah.
And he'll complain about it, and then when he gets into it, that's his, it literally takes him to a headspace that's very calming, very relaxing.
Yeah.
Because he kind of gets into it, and
of course,
he's always proud of the outcome.
That is the best
that's
feeling.
The best thing when you do it yourself.
Yeah. And you save so much. Like when I redid my bathroom, I didn't know how to do tile. Yeah. Same thing. Went on YouTube, and
that's tough too.
Tile
is tough.
Tile is tough. Yeah, but I learned all the stuff that you have to check. Like, I'm like, okay, what does a professional actually look for? Okay, lippage, this, spacing, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. So the entire time I'm there, and it's so messy. Tile is so messy.
Yeah. I give you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
That's not something I would even let my husband attempt to do. And he does a lot of stuff. I wouldn't let him do that.
Yeah, no, and I did the whole bathroom completely.
Wow.
And took the tile all the way to the top. Oh, it was.
So you have time to do all this and sell real estate and train your dog and
yeah,
take care of your wife and go to Italy and
yeah, so that's where everybody's like, how do you have all this time? I don't know. I just know how to manage my time.
Yeah, obviously you did a great job with it.
Yeah.
I wanted to. Are you an only child?
No, so I'm the oldest of three.
You are the oldest. That tells me a lot right there. So do they still live in Miami?
They do.
They do. So when you go there, you get to visit with them too.
Yeah.
So you're still selling in Miami too?
Yes.
So do you have a lot of referral bases coming out
It's
there?
mainly referral. And then, like a lot of friends are like, hey, like Miami's getting expensive. So they're slowly like getting ready to move up this way. Yeah.
So you're getting that too.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you see real estate? I mean, has it slowed down a little bit for you, or is it maintaining itself for you?
For me, it has. I mean, I'm still up on that roller coaster ride that I guess newbies can start. Because like my first 5 months, it was like bam, a deal, and then after that, 5 months, dead, flat. So luckily I had the clinic to rely on.
Yep.
Right. And then
so you were doing both.
I was doing both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with me, it was like I had the flexibility to be like, okay, I'm done with patients at 3.
Yep.
I can schedule something for 4.
Okay.
And then go on so forth. And then obviously the weekends were designated for showings. It's still there for me as like that. Now with the time change, we get a little bit more leeway. Yeah, more light. But right now
you're not still at the clinic, are you?
No. So the clinic closed down in December.
Okay. Yeah. So what's your wife doing now?
So she's unemployed, sadly. Okay. But because of the hands, she can't do a lot of typing. So she ended up having 6 arm surgeries.
What?
Yeah. So
and what happened to her?
At the clinic that we were working at, we had a pneumatic gun. And this is before they had changed the protocols, thanks to her, essentially, right? So she's ambidextrous, and when she would do the gun, kind of like the massage gun, but it's good for like arthritis, ligament issues, back pain, sciatic, all that stuff. She was changing, and then you had to hit a certain pressure point. And that just kind of like shocked back to her nerves, and it just hurt her nerves. So she has both hands carpal tunnel. She ended up getting topaz, which is like Swiss cheesing your ligaments and nerves to help it like kind of regenerate. That didn't work. And then when you hit your elbow and that funny bone, so there's a nerve that rides on it, and they changed it so now it like glides on the bicep.
So is she getting better? I mean, is it gonna get better?
She was getting better, but actually just today I took her to the doctor again because it's happening again, like the pain.
The pain. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, dang it. So does she plan on wanting to get back to work, or is you just gonna, be her knight in shining armor and just?
I'm still trying. I'm shining that armor, but it's hard. No, yeah. I mean, right now, like where the business is now mainly focused on just real estate full time. Yep. So I'm having her like learn how to do editing on videos, certain softwares.
She can help you with.
That she can help me out, and then she can book showings for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you that I think if you can talk to 5 different agents and you talk to 5 different lenders, and they'll all tell you something different. I've just been doing this for so long, and I know that you're new into it. Stick with it. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna write it out.
Of course.
And just keep doing the activities that we know works to drive in the business. And sometimes you have to, just like you were doing with your podcast and stuff like that. Same thing with Gold Street. I mean, like I said, they're just very unique. So you capitalize on anything that's a little different than what everybody else is doing, and making sure that we stay relevant in the social media part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, social media right now is so, like, if you're not doing it in any form, you're losing a little bit of that business.
Yeah.
And that's where I've gotten more of my. So I have not worked with a lot of locals.
Yep.
It's all people coming outside. So I've worked with people from New York, Utah, a lot of people from Miami, of course. But very rarely do I get somebody that's like, oh yeah, I'm renting in Ocala. I want to move to, North Ocala or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the same for me too. I still don't see. I mean, I do see the influx of a little bit more on the first-time home buyer local people, because they couldn't do anything for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because they were out of the market. Now with rates being where they are,
Mhm.
you know, it's still a struggle for them, but you're getting a larger buyer pool from those folks that we didn't see for the last couple of years. And when you
Yeah.
started the business, I mean, I'm sure, you know, as hard as, I mean, as easy as it was because everybody was moving here, everybody was buying,
Yeah.
nothing was staying on the market. It was just going, going, going. It was still difficult too because how many offers did you put in for every single house that
Oh,
you had? You know, your buyers were just, you know, going crazy too. So now they're back, right? And so now, and I think the inventory's better. But at the same time, I mean, I talk to a lot of agents right now, and what they're listing is just not moving as fast.
yeah.
But that's more of the
The
normal
normal,
market,
yes.
and so they're getting used to it too. So that's what I'm saying. You know, and I actually had a lunch and learn at your office on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and one of the things that everybody always asks me if whenever I do that is, you know, what's going to happen with rates, what's going to happen. Have no clue. We have absolutely no clue
Yeah.
right now. It's just totally different than anything I've really ever seen. But what's nice about it is that if people get into trouble, employment, you know, if something happens, they bought at a time where there's still equity, so they can still make money and sell if they
Yeah.
have to, as opposed to back in the bad days where the equity would tank, the
Mhm.
employment tank, everything. It was a perfect storm. So at least now, and people are still wanting to move here because
Oh
I
yeah.
mean the land, the opportunities.
I mean, you have space between your
Yeah,
neighbors. I mean, I'm used to like, you wake up, oh, I'm touching my neighbor's
yeah,
wall.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what people still want, and but yeah. So hopefully if we can just write it out a couple more months before you know something positive happens,
Oh,
which
of course.
I think it will. I absolutely will.
Oh yeah.
I'm rooting for our business because you know we control so much of the economy and we have to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, with that, when you were talking about like how many people you had to like kind of beat to get the house, so I spent 9 months to get my mom a house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I've only lived in apartments.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved here that I was able to rent a house, and you know, I took pride in it.
Of course.
You know,
Oh
I
yeah.
pressure washed, and
Yeah.
neighbors were like, "It's not your house." I'm like, "But I live in it."
That's right.
You
It's
know,
my house. Yeah.
and if my landlord's happy, I'm more keen to kind of stay.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing where, you know, we wanted to help my mom get out of that
Mm-hmm.
apartment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
life. And it was the same thing. I surprised her with the house.
Here.
No, down in
Okay.
Miami.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
sadly, I want her, but she's like, I'm not ready to retire. I'm
Yep.
still making
Yep.
money.
Yep.
And we were able to, so my brother, he works in tech. He's a programmer. So he got pre-approved when we knew the budget, and we just kept on looking at houses. And then he came up to help me and my wife with my knee surgery, and you know, he's like doing
Right.
laundry and stuff. And one day I remember sitting, and I put up on the TV and we're just scrolling, and then a house dropped from I think it was like 550 down to like 510. And I was like, what? But it's fully remodeled, everything. Why did it drop?
Uh-huh.
Contacted, oh, you know, we priced it a little over high, so we want to go down to get a bidding war.
Right.
I'm like, of course you
Of
are.
course. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, you know, I just connected with the agent, and I have a way where it's like, if I meet somebody that only speaks English, you know, it's good, professional, it's funny. But when they hit that Spanish tone, and I know that they're in Spanish, I don't know if it's like in general, like it's just more at ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I
So
get it.
yeah, and then we clicked, and I was like, look, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This house is for my mom. We're trying to get it for her, all that. So when we put in our offer, you know, I did the whole like contingency in this, and they're like, he's like, no contingency, just drop it. I was like, oh man, like don't do this to me. So I was all right. This is as much as we can put in. That's it. And we went in, and he picked us.
Oh
Even
my
though we were
gosh.
completely outbid, there was somebody that put in 555, but we went in at 530,
And you got
and
it.
we got it.
Oh.
And my mom didn't know. So
Oh.
then what I did was I went down to Miami, showed her a blue house. I needed a lot of work. So in Miami, it's so hard to find a place with no HOA.
Right. Right. Right.
Right. So we went, and I was like, Mom, this is all we can get. She's like, oh man. And she's so blunt. She's like, oh, this house is ugly. And I was like, Mom, I mean, let's be honest. It's you're paying rent for years.
Right.
You know, and it's not yours, and we're losing money. Like we need to think of your retirement.
Right.
This is
Right.
gonna be for you.
Right.
She's like, okay, whatever. And then, you know, showed her a few houses, and then, well, we were under contract and everything. So the day of the closing, I pushed it a little bit more.
Gosh.
Yeah. So the day of the closing, I got the lender to go in, right? Open the house. I hired a photographer that was an old high school friend. He went in for real estate photos. So he takes some photos, and then the lender's like, all right, like, what do you guys think of the house? My brother's like, oh, we'd like to put an offer. So the guy goes, well, I'm sorry. Somebody actually already put in an offer. And we accepted it. So that my mom was like, oh, like, what is such a beautiful house. It sucks, but it was so pretty. And then the lender goes, it's your house, and gave her the key.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys need to be on TV with these stories. I mean,
I know. I'm waiting.
What did she?
Oh, she cried.
Of course.
She cried.
Oh my gosh.
She cried.
Well, you're great at doing that. So you're in the right business.
Yeah.
It's like you get a house and you get
Yeah, I know. So that's what I want to do. My goal is not so much to, transactions are going to happen, but more it's like it's such a special moment, and for a lot of people when they become first-time home buyers, it's like, wow, I'm finally doing, like, I've reached that check on the American dream. Yes.
It's a milestone. Definitely a milestone.
So I always try to make for every single buyer a little bit special and like unique, because everybody's story is unique.
I can see you doing that. I really can. I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
I think you're gonna be awesome the rest of this year and future years down the road. So
thank you.
I don't worry about you at all.
Thank you.
Now you just need to send me some business.
Oh, you got it.
And I'll do it in Miami too. I do it all over.
Perfect.
So, yeah. But is there anything I can do for you? Or are there any questions you have for just the mortgage side of the business, or anything I can answer?
So I have a few, but I'll bring you onto the podcast.
Oh,
so
even
yes,
okay.
So we can educate listeners. Yeah.
I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
coming. Of course. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
See, I called you here. Cheers to you.